A very good evening to you, our listener out there. And once again, I would just like to welcome you to this very weekly program, goes by the name Face the Mic. And today here, I'm very much honored to have with me Professor Dr. Peter Baofu, an American scholar and writer who has so far written 148 books, whereby by next week, something surprising is that it's going to have 150 books exactly. Dr. Peter Baofu, you're warmly welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, this is TBC International Studio, and as I said earlier, that we are so much honored to have you in the studio here.
And thank you for...
Yes, my name is Dar Es Salaam. I'm going to be with you all the way to 4 o'clock East African time. There was another book pertaining to the region, something like that, correct?
Yes, not just one, many.
Okay, so one of them.
For example, in one book which is called Beyond the World of Titans and the Remaking of World Order, I talk about different regions of the world and how they're going to change. What is the implication for international politics? And in that book, by the way, I wrote more than 20 years ago. I spoke about the decline of America at that time, because at that time the U.S. was at the peak of the post-Cold War era, where a lot of people thought that the Soviet Union was gone, so the U.S. is going to be forever like that. And I said that no, it's not Japan, it's not Russia, but it's China, which could become the dominant superpower to replace America, and India will be the next. I remember that at the time when I gave presentation like that, people just laugh at me. I mean, they just dismiss me totally. But they stopped doing that nowadays.
So what compelled you to come up with this kind of prophecy? For me, I can just call it as a prophecy, because as you say that when you were doing a presentation, some people were laughing at you as if you were talking something impossible. But for
they are
you,
lunatic, you are crazy.
Yes, illusion, you know. But for you, I think you came up with that saying which says, nothing impossible under the sun. So what compelled you to come up with this kind of prophecy?
Again, I was interviewed many times before, and people often ask me this question. As I said, there are two fundamental reasons. One of them is genetic, the other one is environmental. Genetic is about your personal ability. No two individuals have the same ability. Just as I said, Muhammad Ali is extraordinary in boxing, but I'm not like that. I'm totally incapable of boxing like that. But on the other hand, there's something else that I do which is very good, and in that case, to be a thinker. So that is an unusual ability that you must have if you want to be a good thinker. You must have that kind of potential. Look at Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali had the physiology to be a great boxer. Muhammad Ali is not skinny, is not short. You need to have certain physiology to be a good boxer. Like his neck is a bit thicker than mine. He's bigger than I am. He's not as skinny as I am. So this is important. You want to play basketball well, you need to be very tall. By the way, Yao Ming from China, he's very tall. Okay, but how about me? Am I that tall? No, that's why I cannot be famous in basketball. But can I be famous in thinking, in scholarship? I think I do. So yes, so that's to answer your question. How can you come up with these ideas? You must have that ability. Now, another thing is environmental. I think that I have been benefiting from a very good academic environment because I was educated in the top schools in the world. I was also taught in some of them too.
Just to mention those schools.
Yeah, for example, I took a lot of courses. I also was teaching some courses at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology,
in
at
America.
Harvard, yes, in the US. By the way, MIT and Harvard have been ranked as have the top two schools, not just in the US. We are talking about international ranking. And I was also at Johns Hopkins, Northwestern, Georgetown, and all that. And I was also benefited from a family background where I was encouraged by my family to receive or to pursue a career in scholarship. So that is very good for me in that sense. But going back to genetic too, is that I also have an unusual work ethics. I think that's also genetic too. I work like hell, by the way, just in case you do not know. When I work, I really work like from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. And I seldom have any distraction. And wherever I go, I often carry a computer with me. I work constantly. When I sleep, my mind works constantly. So it's not something that you say, it's very easy, just spend some time in Tanzania or visit 95 countries and you will come up with some new theory. It doesn't work like that. So there's a lot of tremendous sacrifices that you need to have. So yes, but I also have that thick skin that people laugh at me. It does not stop me. It does not discourage me. I'm not the kind of person that I'm afraid of people laughing at me. The more they laugh at me, the more I'm convinced that I'm right.
Well, dear TBC International listener, you've heard now as to why Professor Dr. Peter Baofu is coming up with all those new theories, or is one of the best theorists ever in the world. It's because also has studied in top universities and colleges. And for your information, according to this year research, you know, there are some top universities here. The first one is Massachusetts, as you've said here, and also Stanford University and Harvard University. Yeah, so you deserve to be the way you are. There's a paying a visit to more than 100 countries is not an easy way. It is costful, correct?
That's why I say there is a lot of sacrifice. It's not just about money. It's also about psychology. It's about stress. It's also about a lot of things that people do not know. But on the other hand, I am committed. See, I am committed to my passions of ideas and the human future. My life is to serve humanity. That's what I decided to do a long time ago. And I spend my life for scholarship to discover the truth, whatever it is, even though it is very difficult to discover. And I try to understand the human future and propose some new visions. So I'm willing to do anything to make that possible before my death.
Okay. If you were to be asked a question about the future of this world, maybe economically and politically, etc., and socially, how would you say?
In what way?
In economic aspect, in political aspect, and even in social aspect or cultural aspect. How would you say?
In Tanzania or in Africa? Or?
No, the whole. You can even just categorize, maybe in Africa, maybe Europe, etc.
Yeah, but by the way, this is a very big question because you talk about politics, economic, and social, but each of them have different answers. For example, in my publication on economics, I make the prediction that that capitalism, as we understand that, will not survive. It will not last. It will be replaced by a new form of economic system, and I call that post-capitalism, in which I propose different versions. In the book on democracy, I also propose that democracy, as we understand that, will not last. It will be replaced by new political system. I call that post-democracy. And in the case of regions that you just mentioned, I also said that in the coming decades to come, you will see more and more some of the fundamental transformation of the geopolitical orders. China and India, for example, become more and more important internationally. They will become what I call the hyper empires. And the US and the EU, for example, will decline to the second rank of the Meso empires. The Middle East and the Latin American, for example, they will become what I call the micro empires. And some of the regions. So each issue will have a different solution and different challenges and solution. There's no one size fits all solution.
Well, in the very beginning of our interview, you said something that actually shocked me as well, to the extent of calling you like maybe you are like a prophet. You say that many years back, just after the Cold War, you say that China will replace America and be the superpower. What compelled you to come up with such a statement, such a prediction? What did you see? Just briefly, because of time.
Yes.
Just 30 seconds.
Briefly. At that time, I don't just look into China. I look into many other issues, and I saw a lot of fundamental forces coming up, and it came to my realization that in terms of the economic, cultural, natural, and mental causes, China has met all the requirements of that category, and that's why I said that China has the best chance to come up with that dominance. But I also mentioned other powers too.
Okay.
India will be the next.
Okay, India will be. You are well, with this remark from Professor Dr. Peter Baofu, then we've come to the end of today's Face the Mic program. Just to remind you today, I had with me here Professor Dr. Peter Baofu, an American scholar and writer, doctor and professor. Thank you very much for
Thank you for
being
inviting
here.
me.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
My name is Dar Es Salufu. Much thanks to you, my listener out there, for being with me all the way from the start to the end. See you next time. See you next Friday.